Another one is they're entrepreneurs and innovators, and I hope some of you will get excited about this, and maybe you could even consider going to Latin America. Clase Móvil is a website that you can go to as a child. I think it's for kids that are 12 years old. And so 12 years old, around that age, can go and they can learn about every single subject there is. They were at TechBridge 50, so they were one of the demos there. Really cool. You should go check it out, especially if you have kids. If you think of the people in Latin America that don't have an education at all, and all of a sudden they can get one, it's a big deal. Dreamio is one in Brazil that is for brands talking to consumers. JoinCube is a startup that lets you do like a name in the firewall, so it's very cool too. And then we have our own PayPal and eBay sites, Mercado Libre and Mercado Pago, which are really good too. But countries like Costa Rica, Chile, and Mexico are becoming tech hubs for outsourcing, for offshoring, for nearsourcing, but also for people that are in tech, designers, developers, coders. You can go there, live for $500 right next to the beach, an amazingly beautiful place, and then you can get a visa. And this might sound a lot to some people, but $500,000 invested over 5 years will get you a visa for as long as you want. I'm here in the US, I've been here for 10 years, I'm still on a visa that's going to expire in a couple of years. So I might not be here in 3 years. I probably will be, but that's just an example of how governments in Latin America are opening it up so that you can go there, you can invest, you can start a startup, you can be successful without having to go to California, without having to go to New York, without having to come to Austin. And so now three stories I'm going to tell. One is when I was a little younger, back in 2000, I was in a band, have no way of sharing my music. So my brother and I in this band, we put an MP3.com, I don't know if any of you remember it, but this is like pre-MySpace, post-Napster time. And through MP3.com, we got all these fans all over the world. There's people in Colombia covering our songs. It's a big deal. That's not the story. The story is my brother became friends with one of these bands, and then at some point they started using webcam. Then this girl in the background pops up. It's his sister. They've been dating for like 10 years, long distance. So the web has changed how we connect, how we talk to each other. Here's another example that's a little less exciting or less fun. This guy, his name is Francisco Greci, 22-year-old student, Guatemala. High Five was the first social network in Guatemala that people felt encouraged to share their information publicly. So 500,000 people on there, Francisco gets on, he becomes friends with a guy that was part of a kidnapping group. Kidnapping group kidnapped him after talking through High Five. They asked for $2,000. Just think of that, $2,000. They kidnap him. His parents pay the $2,000. They pay a pickup truck. Francisco gets killed. So when people talk about privacy and they're like, oh, privacy, whatever, it depends on where you are. So the web is a mirror of the offline world. Dying for $2,000 and High Five being a part of it, it's not High Five's fault, but it shows you how the web is not the same everywhere. And for us to talk about privacy as if it's like here everywhere else, it's not the right thing to do. And now this other story of the web as a movement. This is an attorney from Guatemala City. May 9th, 2009, I get online and he says, if you're seeing this video, it is because I have been murdered by the president of Guatemala. And he accuses it, he gives all this evidence, half an hour, then you start checking facts, and he actually was murdered the day before. All of a sudden, this huge conspiracy, the whole country went in uproar. You probably didn't hear it because the fact is that the media didn't care, but CNN covered it, BBC covered it, a bunch of people covered it after us online started tweeting about it. And it took people to the streets, and there it says they're calling him a killer. I'm running out of time, but there was a guy that saw this and heard that there was a bank that was involved in corruption. So he says, a tweet, 74 or so characters, says, my first action is to get my money out of this bank, and, this is corruption, something like that. If you go right now and search Bank of America, you'll find 88,000 people saying, I don't like this bank, I'm getting my money out. Well, in Guatemala, they silence you for doing stuff like that. So he had 5 cops in his house, big machine guns, you know, everything. They searched everything, took his computers, and they took him to jail. And I think he had to pay like $7,000 in legal fees, and I don't know what else, I think attorney fees. Half of it was paid through PayPal. What the Guatemalan government didn't expect was this striking effect of people just saying this is wrong, save Janfer, free Janfer, and Janfer is now really popular and famous, and he's a good friend of mine. Just to end that story, the first story that I told you about the attorney, a year later, they looked into it. I've been really upset for a year because I'm like, how did this happen? How did we let this attorney get killed? And how did he share this information on the YouTube videos? Then I find out that the UN did this really in-depth study, and they found out that he planned the whole thing himself. There was an actual murder of one of his clients. He was having an affair with her. So he was so sure that it was the president of Guatemala that he made this whole thing up and got himself killed, which is a little crazy, but it also shows you how the internet can convince you of things that aren't real. And so for a year, Guatemala lived on this incredible lie. If it is a lie, it might still be true, I don't know, but go look at it. His name is Rodrigo Rosenberg, he's the attorney. I'm completely out of time, but I'll leave this up so you want to see it. There is hope. 183% is the user growth in Latin America from 2000 to 2009. That's way more than the US. If it keeps growing, we might get to a level where 70% that don't have access and that are ignorant might have access. So thank you.